even name names, but there's even people who I'm cool with who shit on Manny. It's wild to me. James, do you still have the same opinions on the owners despite the summer signings working so well? Yes, I've always held shit, and I've got people messaging me on Twitter like, oh, you're not speaking about the owners as much no more. I will speak about the owners when asked to speak about the owners. I have never made my decision on FSG based on their footballing decisions. Yes, it's a factor, but it's not the overall factor. I lost all trust with FSG when that Super League was conducted and put together, because what that shows me is that they are willing to stab our fans and stab the fan groups in the back without any consent on going ahead with big football and matters. They were ready to take us into a league that was going to monopolise football to a point where there's no relegation. There's only these top teams who can play in the league, and therefore the top brands stay the top brands, and there's no room for other teams who would have stayed in the Premier League and other competitions to improve and get onto that world stage level. Instead, they were going to say, you know what, fuck this, let's put everyone in a league together without the fans' consent. We agree on this. Now, it's my fault if I feel for it the first time. If they were to do it a second time, I can sit there and say I told you all. Because if they were to go and form another Super League, or say if Fiorentino Perez came along with another idea and FSG agreed to the idea, well, now they're ruining not only the heritage of the club, but the heritage of football as a whole. And ever since that day, culminated with a few other business decisions that they've made, like the ticket prices, like the Liverpool symbol thing, and all these different types of stuff. It's very selfish. It doesn't align with the football club. I think they could have done a lot more off the pitch as well, and they haven't. But yes, have they got a lot of things right on the pitch in recent time? Absolutely. Do I care about this? No, because what if they want to make Liverpool the best team in the world and then they take us to a Super League? Well, now I never wanted that. I'd rather be a mid-table Premier League than ruin the complete heritage of the football club. So I would not be as short-sighted or as stupid or as deceived to blindly back FSG purely because they've had a good transfer window. Or let's even be more honest and say they've had a few good transfer windows and they've ran this football club well. I would agree with those later two statements. Have they ran it perfect? No. Has the on the football pitch stuff been great? No. Is there any evidence they can do this without Jurgen Klopp at the helm? No. But have they done well in recent time? Yes. Do they deserve praise for this? Absolutely. Are you a disingenuous prick to ignore all the bad stuff that they've done? In my opinion, yes. And to say that just because of the signings is why we should support and blindly support their project is ludicrous to me. I'm still not a big fan of FSG. If I could have FSG out tomorrow, I absolutely would. And that's my opinion. That's my opinion. That people can feel more than entitled to disagree with. That is fine. But everyone seemed to have forgot about that Super League very, very fast. And you forget how they tried to do that in a time where it was COVID, everyone was vulnerable, no one was in stadium, so they thought they weren't going to get people protesting. But then the online outrage was so huge, they all had to back out. And FSG were one of the last teams to back out. They were that kid who never made the idea, like, guys, we might have went too far on this. They were one of the kids that were willing to stay in trouble until all of them got caught, and that's exactly what happened. And that's why they done that apology video, which worked fucking wonders. Even though everyone at the time was like, oh, you can see what they're doing. Look, a couple of good transfer windows, and already you've got those FSG goggles back on. It's insanely stupid and naive to me. So unlike other people, I'm consistent. Even if it meant us going a little bit worse on the pitch or whatever, I'd still want them gone, primarily because of that footballing decision. Like I said, FSG is great to get a sleeping giant back to the pinnacle of football, but that's it. They aren't ambitious enough. So FSG out because we are Liverpool, not Aston Villa, with all due respect. That's another thing. There's no evidence that suggests FSG can get us on the pedestal of the best club in the country and the best club in the world on a consistent basis year after year after year. I think that was very much a Jurgen Klopp thing. And I think when Jurgen Klopp goes, we are going to see the demise of this football club a little bit more, depending on what Jurgen Klopp leaves. Hopefully we can have a little bit of a Bill Shankly type idea where Shankly gives the reins over to Paisley, and luckily the foundations of the football club is still in place, so Paisley can now take the team going forward. We hope something like this can be replicated with Klopp, but when you've got an American brand trying to Americanize everything, it's very, very difficult to sustain that because they're focusing on business decisions opposed to just footballing decisions. So yeah, it's a bit stupid just to love them for this. Colombia have made huge strides in reducing the instances of kidnapping. It's not like it was. People still perceive Colombia has this way about them, but it's now relatively rare. That's great. That's great. It's lovely people from Colombia. It's a shame that people are putting a taint on a bad example of people on this overall situation. I don't like FSG, although they have built a decent squad, to be fair. They have. We agree. It's decent. But you'd like to hope over time, when we won that Premier League and Champions League, we could have went from having a good squad to a great squad, and we never. We stepped off the gas. There's a lot of decisions that they've made wrong, and I'm not going to let some good form in the short term take away from what they've done wrong, because there's a lot that they've done wrong. Let's call a spade a spade. I think Thiago is trying. We are trying our hardest to get him in the best shape, to get him back on the pitch with less injuries. Possibly, but until we see those consistent run of games, it's all skepticism. It's all guessing. Honestly, Hortensia, big up G. Of course, they needed to spend because FSG only care about top 4 and getting into the Champions League. They have got no ambition to win the Premier League. I agree. If they had ambition to win the Premier League, we would have seen an additional centre-back and an additional midfielder. I agree. But have they done good enough to have us competing? I'd say Jurgen Klopp's had a bigger part to play with the way that he plays with this team. We've seen FSG ran without Jurgen Klopp, and it weren't great. We were getting Europa League, barely scraping Europa League. So, yeah, I think that people are a bit short-sighted when it comes to FSG.